Hey everyone, J.K. Whited here from the Baseball Rebellion. Today to talk to you a little bit about bat drag and how the bat drag buster will help you alleviate some of the mechanics the negative mechanics, the bad mechanics that you see in a lot of bat drag players. And typically, bat drag is going to be seen mostly in younger players. You see it at some levels of higher levels of baseball, but typically it's overcome with some strength, talent, timing, coordination, things like that. That you see some good players do it as a way to delay their swing a little bit to give them more time. But typically in your younger players, they're doing it to create barrel whip, bat speed, whatever you want to call it, barrel turn, and they kind of, at some point in their life, either as a young player in the backyard hitting wiffle balls or off of a tee or whatever, they kind of generate it early in their swings because they found out they can do it mostly with their upper body, as opposed to learning how to use their lower half properly and kind of the segment of moves along the way to create real bat speed at the right place at the right time, into the hitting zone at the right time, things like that. So I'm going to take you through a couple different little scenarios here. First is like if timing is perfect. So the really crazy part about this is if the player's timing is perfect, then they can actually kind of hit it hard, and which is a little bit of a false negative because the timing won't be perfect every time. But here we go. And the first thing that you're going to see a player do, and again, I'm trying my best here to do this. It was actually tough for me to put myself in these positions. Again, I'm not as young and kind of limber and loose in the arms and things like that as a younger player at 12 and under would be, as you can imagine. And I don't do any footwork here, nothing. This is purely upper half mechanics, because this is really an upper half, partly, I would say mostly an upper half mistake. So what you see is the first thing that happens typically in elbow draggers is because their kind of their brain is on the thought of get the bat moving, and then the next thing after that is get the bat moving with my arms. You're going to see that front arm really bar out right there, and that front arm is going to lead the way as far as the kind of getting out of the way for that back elbow to really start to come out. So I'm already putting myself in a position where it's easier to start to pull my back elbow. And so before the back hip really even engages in the swing, like you'll still see some hip rotation in guys who bat drag, but it doesn't engage, and it's more like the back elbow is pulling the hip as opposed to the hip pulling the back shoulder, and then like we want to see in a good swing. And so then the barrel flattens out behind the knob, okay, and then because that elbow is pulling in front of the knob, and I'm really trying here to keep this elbow going this way, meanwhile keeping the knob behind my elbow as long as I can. Because of this, a couple things start to happen. Number one, like I talked about, my hips are disengaged, and now it's an upper body swing. But what happens mostly is that the barrel of the bat is still kind of being pulled behind the knob. So this is why they call it bat drag, or at least in my opinion, that's why I would call it bat drag. And again, I'm really trying hard to keep my elbow in front right here. And so the barrel, is being drugged behind the knob for a long, extended amount of time in the swing. Now, as far as time goes, it's still, less than a second. It's still very quick. But as far as the rotation of the swing, so the beginning of my swing being back here, the knob is dragging the barrel behind it for a long time. When, in fact, what we want is the barrel to be turning into the hitting zone back here somewhere. It's just not going to happen with that elbow being out in front. So what happens is the barrel enters the zone very, very late, so somewhere right about here, okay? And then what's tricky about this is if I take it all the way to contact with this tee, let's say I stop right here and I took a picture of myself swinging and I saw myself at contact, I'd be like, hey, not too bad right here. I got some bend in my arms, right there. I got some space between my arms, but not a lot of space, enough where I feel pretty strong at contact. I got some hip rotation right here. So you kind of look at it and you're like, man, this is good. Like, this is a good contact position. I got good upward kind of forearm position there. I got palm up, palm down, nose is down the ball, this, that, and the other. And then, but what you fail to see most of the time, what parents don't really see because they usually see a still picture, is kind of how the barrel got to it. So I got to here, and then instinctively I know I got to start turning the barrel. So now my wrists start to turn, and my elbow turns back in towards the camera, or back out towards the camera to get the barrel to rotate around. And now my barrel is coming around my knob somewhere right about here. So right about here is when the knob and the barrel line up. and that's way too late. We want that to happen way back here somewhere in our swing. So again, they get here and it's like, okay, contact is good. You might see a good, launch angle sometimes. You might see a hard hit ball. But then here's also the problem, is that once I get in the hitting zone to the ball, because of the way the bat is really turning around me like a merry-go-round, the bat then immediately exits that way towards the wall behind me, and then I miss out on a ton of extra barrel potential to hit the ball. And so what I've done in this video is I've kind of adjusted my timing. So what I'll do is I'll fast forward a little bit here, and what I'll do is I'll set the ball back in my stance. So if I'm really late, so let's say my timing isn't perfect, and here comes that elbow again because my mind says this is how I'm supposed to swing. The elbow leads and the knob pulls the bat, and the bat is dragging behind me for a long period of time in my swing. So if I don't start turning the bat, I'm going to be extremely late. But because I put myself in this position, I can't until somewhere out here. Well, the problem is the ball is already so deep that I hit it like this. And if I get to this position and the knob is in front of my barrel, right? So we know that the barrel is further back than the knob. Then what's it going to do? It's like bunting. Like that's how you adjust, for a bunt is kind of where you turn the knob. So the barrel is late, and now I'm going to be hitting balls backside pretty easily. All right, so backside flares, you're going to see a lot of side spin here. You're going to see foul balls constantly, and if my timing is even worse, then I'm going to be super late and miss the ball. Whereas it's maybe not like a physical problem that I definitely can make the bat go fast. Problem is when I make it go fast. So when you elbow drag, the only time you can make the bat go really fast is if I continue to go is out here somewhere. So here I am back at that good contact position. Problem is the ball was right here and I was late, whether it was maybe a faster pitcher that I'm not used to, or maybe my timing was just bad on that pitch. Either way, I'm going to be slicing this ball off backside, and maybe that's the first pitch and it's a beautiful pitch and I miss because of that, and that can be frustrating. Because you don't really know, like, man, how did I miss that ball? Well, the problem was the bat didn't turn past the knob until out here, but the ball's already been hit, so it doesn't really matter. And then again, you can see like the early exit out of the hitting zone to the left. So if what I do is I slide back a little bit here, and I put my timing a little bit earlier in the pitch. So here comes that elbow again, right? And so now here I am. If I were late, if I'd be making contact right here, it'd be super late and fouling one off. Here I turn, I'll still be probably pretty late, and maybe here I can start keeping the ball fair, hitting the ball maybe over second baseman. Here's where I would hit it back to center, so my contact were somewhat perfect. Here the knob or the barrel's around the knob somewhere right about here, so I'd start to pull the ball. Problem is, again, the ball really is right here, and so then here's that early exit out of the hitting zone again, so my hands have to roll over. That's the thing. This is not really something that, unless you're strong enough, you can really have good extension with. You're going to have to roll your right hand over. All right, and so what do we know? Well, here comes the end of the bat towards the contact position right here, and then how are we going to hit this ball? Well, it's definitely going to be, off the cap, off the end. If it's inside, I'm going to severely pull it, meaning I might even hit it in the dugout, or, what might even be worse is when I start to roll those hands over, I'm going to get a rollover type of contact, and I'm going to, hit that easy grounder to the third baseman, shortstop, whoever, and it's just going to be weak contact. So the problem, the really sneaky part about this problem is that if your timing is perfect, if I rewind back all the way to the beginning here, where I was there at contact, if my timing is perfect, I can kind of hit it okay. But most of the time, if my timing, and as we know, we're all humans. Our timing won't be perfect, and the pitches are different. It's just the stars kind of have to align a lot to be perfect. Now, if you got a talented young player who's got good hand-eye, who gets really good at this, they're going to see some success for a while, actually, because you're playing against inferior defenders. Pitchers aren't that great. There's no movement. The fastballs aren't that fast for your player. Problem is that once you get older and you start seeing breaking balls that explode, and cutters and two-seamers, and the ball's moving in and out of the zone later in the pitch, and you got to be ready to adjust. And if you're not able to, when we talk about bat speed and getting the bat in the zone quickly, if you're not able to get the barrel behind you this way faster, and then get the barrel around the knob somewhere behind you, or at least beside you, then you're going to struggle at getting behind the ball. Not just that, but staying out with the barrel as long as you can, because I don't want to stop right here with the barrel. I want my barrel to be able to go a ways in front of me like this, like lengthwise, so that I can continue to keep the sweet spot behind the ball if I am early. But the problem is again, with the barrel turning, it has to turn to the left. You can see the label on the bat turn over as my right hand rolls over, and again, just it makes, it's kind of like a version of swinging down where you're in and out of the zone quickly, kind of above it and then below it. Well, in this one, you're kind of in it sideways and then out of it sideways pretty quickly. And so what the bat drag buster was able to do is keep your elbows apart back here, okay, early when it starts. And that's where you have to attack this problem. If you're a parent or a coach listening to this, you can't attack it at contact necessarily. There might be some things you can do where you can kind of attack the contact issue, and that's what most parents, I think, try to do, is they see the problem at contact, they see the result at contact, and that's where they think they should fix it. The problem is that this issue happens back here. It happens really early in the swing. Like most issues in the swing, happens really early. So that's kind of where you got to attack it. You can't wait till contact. That's far too late, because all that stuff back here is going to result in what happens up here. Okay, and that's pretty much the same in a good swing and a bad swing. All the good stuff is going to happen on this side of the body for the most part. Okay, and the bad stuff. So what we do is we try to attack it with the bat drag buster by not allowing that arm to bar, to try and keep some elbows bent so that these elbows can't get too close. Now again, I'm got some more meat in front of me maybe than an 8-year-old boy or girl who's fixing this, so it's a little bit harder for me to get my elbows close, but I'm telling you, there are a lot of kids whose elbows are like almost touching each other at this point, and it's really tough. So with the bat drag buster on, they have to forcibly keep these elbows apart and create that tension between the elbows so that the band in the middle stays tight. Otherwise, the band collapses and it gets flexible again. And so the bat drag buster is able to help that player feel the elbows stay apart back here. Now you still have to teach lower half mechanics, barrel turning mechanics with the hands and the wrists, and kind of that last phase of the swing where the hands start to rotate, back here behind the hitter. But that's the big difference, is the hands will rotate back here, creating early bat speed this way. But in the bat drag swing, the hands don't really snap or rotate until out here, causing that window of time to make solid contact very, very small. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, kind of on the breakdown of bat drag and the results that you might see. I hope that you liked the explanation of the bat drag buster and the other video in this article. But this is not something that is impossible to fix. You just have to be smart about it. And hitting more, typically, especially at the beginning, is not going to be your answer. You got to find a way to get the player to feel the elbows not get so close together early in the swing, so that the hands can start to turn and the player can go ahead and get used to thinking about using their lower half so they can snap and turn and accelerate the barrel more behind them, so they can get their bat speed up and then obviously under the ball and then come up through it this way. Okay, so I appreciate you guys listening today. Please tweet at me, email me if you have any questions, comment at the bottom of this. We'll answer everybody's questions that might have them, and I'm looking forward to talking with you guys. Thanks.